Sometimes how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're an Oreo cookie. White in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I would slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. I have with me Dr. Noliwe Rooks. She's a columnist for Times.com. Dr. Rooks is a Princeton professor and the associate director for the Center for African American Studies. She has written 3 books, including White Money, Black Power, The Surprising History of African American Studies and the Crisis of Race and Higher Education. Dr. Rooks wrote an article on Times.com, How Minorities Are Driving Politics. She doesn't like the stop-and-frisk policy in New York, and I wanted to talk to her about those things and others. Dr. Rooks, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Your book, White Money and Black Power, what is that about?
It talks about the institutionalization of African American studies. So in 1968, like 400 programs in departments of African American studies were instituted, and I was trying to figure out why. Why all of a sudden did all of these universities and colleges, sometimes when nobody was even asking, did they start to put money behind African American studies? It was at a time when economics in the country were a little bit stressed. We weren't in a full-on recession. That would come in the 70s, a little bit later. But, so the big question was sort of what was the thinking there about institutionalizing it, and how it was institutionalized? What did that have to do with today?
Let me ask this, and then I want to squeeze in some calls. I'm looking at the clock here. Okay. You wrote that you attended this so-called Silent March in New York City. It was organized by the NAACP to protest the New York Police Department's stop-and-frisk policy. Right. Yep. And you attended that rally, and that you was heartened because of what you learned by being there. So you are against the stop-and-frisk policy there in New York now, right? Yes. Why?
Well, it's being applied really unfairly. So just this past year, 687,000 Black and Latino people were stopped. That's more Black and Latino people than are even in New York. 687,000 people were stopped and frisked, and in 99% of the cases, nothing was found. They're not stopping white people or Asian people, or and they're not stopping rich people.
Well, that's because blacks are 7 times more likely than people of other races to commit murder, and 8 times more likely to commit robbery. And so,
but in this instance,
and blacks are 3 times more likely to use a handgun and twice more likely to use a knife. And so, the stat shows that 80% of the crimes that is committed in New York is done by blacks and Hispanics, but especially blacks. So they need to focus on blacks.
But in this instance,
and that was from the Department of Justice, by the way.
Right. But 99.9% of the time, of these 600,000 people stopped, there was absolutely no reason to stop them.
But that's
right. So clearly, there needs to be something else besides.
But that is preventing. That's and as a result of doing that, it's cutting back on the crime there in New York.
But that's not what once again, that pesky data does not show that to be the case.
Instead of
it's not doing anything. It's
yes,
not
it is.
doing
No,
anything to lower crime.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely stopping crime. It's lowering crime there in New York.
Not stopping frisk. Not even Bloomberg, the mayor who supports it, doesn't say that it's the reason that crime is going down.
Let me ask.
He's saying it's preventing future crime.
Instead of going after the police department, why not teach the blacks morality? Teach them how to work and how to respect themselves and others instead of going after the police department. Why not focus on changing the attitude of black people?
I don't think it's an either or. I don't think that you just say, just go be immoral. I'm not really wanting to say all black people are immoral.
Not all, but most are.
For those who are, not even most. You're not. I'm sure you were raised better. I was certainly raised better.
Well, that's why I said most and not all.
But yeah, I don't think it's an either or. I don't think that you just go after the police department. But I think when you see a wrong, like when you see something that's not actually helping, the people who are doing it are saying it is not actually helping.
Hold on, Doctor. Hold on, Doctor. I'm sorry. Hold on. We'll come back and let you give out your website. Man, this hour is up already. Let me just squeeze in a call here at least. Everybody and their mama want to talk to you. Let's see. Let's go down to Georgia and talk to Avery. Avery, thanks for calling. Thanks for holding. You're on with Dr. Rooks.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good
morning.
Yes, I'd like to say that, I understand where you're coming from, but we got to get this mindset. We got to stop thinking that everything got to be black. I mean, just because somebody look like you and have the same tone as you may not be the best interest. You know what I mean? Because,
I think you are absolutely right.
Because I remember back in Stanford University, I don't mean to call out school names, but they was protesting the fact that there was no college professors out there working at Stanford. And I tell these fools, I said, wait a minute, man, you can't. Why are you going to protest and most of the houses that live out there are $1.5 million? How in the world you want a professor to teach at your school and they can't pay the house note? I said, no, that's not right, man. I said, those people can't afford to pay that kind of note, and they try to teach you. That doesn't make any sense. Why are you guys wasting your time protesting? And some of y'all are on scholarships. Y'all on scholarships. I mean, you're supposed to be making your parents proud to go to that school, and you making a darn fool. That doesn't make any sense.
Thank you, Avery.
Thank you.
Dr. Rooks, I appreciate you being here, and we'll have you back.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Okay, folks, we're going to take a top-of-the-hour news break. Preachers in the Pulpit coming up next. Back in a moment.
This has been the Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show, produced by Bond Action. To access the full version of this show, visit us on the web at bondaction.org.